and good evening. I'm Melissa Idris.
And I'm Sharad Kuttan.
Welcome to Consider This, the show where we want you to consider and reconsider what you know of the news of the day. Tonight on the show, we have the Minister of Tourism, Arts and Culture, Datuk Sri Nancy Shukri. Welcome to the show, Datuk Sri. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for inviting me.
So over the next half an hour, we're going to focus on the tourism and arts industry. But before we get to that, because it's going to be a long conversation, I do want to ask you though, as a member of the Perikatan Nasional Plus GPS government and also a member of Cabinet, we'd first kind of like to get your thoughts on the decision to limit Dewan Rakyat, the Dewan Rakyat sitting to a single day. Datuk Sri, what do you think about this move?
Well, actually, we have been discussing about it, quite a lengthy discussion, because we need to consider a lot of things. Especially during that time, May 18 is still going to be MCO. Okay, well, maybe they're going to extend. I may be wrong. It's still going. We are still going to practice social distancing and also having all those other compliance with the SOPs for MCO. I'm not so sure whether during that time there's still going to be MCO, because it's just being announced that it's going to be up to the 12th of May. But having said that, we still have to comply. Then therefore we have to comply with the social distancing, and 222 MPs in the Dewan. We have to have a gap between one chair from before another one to sit there. So some of the MPs will have to sit behind at the back. So no officers, no government officers are allowed to come in because we do not want to encourage many people together. So therefore, it is legally right to do so. That is having it for one day.
Dr. Sri, can I interject here? Though we know in several parliaments around the world, including Britain, on which Malaysia is modelled, they have found and used innovation to overcome the problem. And more importantly, as former law minister as well, I mean, the question of this, the most august house for the discussion of lawmaking, as well as a discussion of the government of the day's priorities, how budgets are being used. Aren't you worried that this will set a dangerous precedent, considering it's possible to actually have parliament, as other countries have demonstrated?
Yeah. Well, it is possible to do so, but I think for this time, it's going to be just a one-day session for reason of what have been discussed, which I cannot disclose here. But of course, we are going to have another session, whereby actually on that day, there will be 3 bills to be passed. But 3 bills to be, it's not to be passed, but they're going to table 3 bills for the first reading, okay? But there has to be second reading. But this one is to comply with, at least we have to call for this session at least before the 60 days end. So what you have asked earlier on, there is a possibility that will be we can use maybe like the other countries, they can go online, we might be able to do that in the future, but I think that is something that we need to work out now, because I think before this we're not really prepared for that, but I don't see any problem with that to happen in the future, because if the next time we see the situation is still the same, then therefore we need to do we need to go online. We use virtual sitting. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you for addressing that with us on the show tonight. Let's move on to the tourism industry and the collapse due to COVID-19. Most of us understand that the pandemic has hit the tourism industry hard, but perhaps Datuk Sri, you might have more insight into the hidden effects of COVID. Talk us through some of the, not just the obvious and visible impact, but also some of the hidden and overlooked impact.
Well, actually, it's already known that tourism is the worst hit industry, and then we are the third contributor to our economy, about 15.3% from tourism. And now we have, from January to March, we have lost about 9.9 billion ringgit. And then very soon it will be worse than that, because this is the peak of where this COVID-19 had been hitting us all. What we have seen now, a lot of them have been complaining about losing their jobs. Those who are asked to go on unpaid leave, and then the government has come in to assist. Now, what is it that is unseen at the moment is some of the proposals that we made under the ministry itself, under MOTEC itself, which is not seen yet, which we are already considering to assist the people, because we see that not only those who are working, like the tourist guides or the tour operators, the travel agencies, not only them being affected, but the families of these people are also affected. So these are what we have not been able to see, and the government, through the government, they're helping out using the stimulus package. But as MOTEC, we are also considering quite a number of things, a number of initiatives through our tourism recovery action plan. We have already established this tourism recovery action committee to consider the various plans. First, we want to use this opportunity to also conduct training, okay, to enhance training for tourist guides and also tourism industries like travel agencies and also tour operators. We want them to enhance their training, their services through online, because this is the time when they have to build a new site of tourism. They need to relook into how they're going to market tourism industry. Now, apart from that, we also have some incentives which have not also been we are still waiting for approval. We are considering to exempt them from paying license, okay? License, so that this is something to lighten their burden.
Dr. Sri, could you help us understand, in terms of the recovery plan, how long is the timeline for the recovery plan? Many of the elements of the Prihatin package were limited in terms of time, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. With your recovery plan, what are you looking at? A year and a half?
Well, we don't go beyond 6 months yet, okay? From there, we will work out again, because now it is more for immediate ones, because we want to help the people immediately. Now, this is up to 6 months only for us to assist them. We have matching grants for them. We have matching grants for the tourism industry themselves. We have two types of matching grants. One is Galakan Melancong Malaysia. We want them to travel in the country, and at the same time we also give grants, okay, grants to those who support the tourism and also our culture and also arts industry. So and we are also helping out to promote by we are now trying to strengthen the economy by using Cuti Malaysia again. This is through our tourism Malaysia.
All right. Yeah. That's a really interesting point that you brought up. We're going to talk a little bit about this pivot to domestic tourism, the Cuti Malaysia pivot, but that's all coming up in the next, just in a couple of minutes on Consider This. Don't go anywhere, stay tuned. If you've just joined us, I'm Melissa Idris with Mishrad Kutan. You're watching Consider This. Let's continue our look at how COVID-19 will change the way not just Malaysia approaches the tourism industry, but also the arts and culture sector. How will this specific sector rebuild, especially if we're looking at no mass gatherings or events for the next year or so? Joining us, we have on the show Datuk Sri Nancy Shukri, Minister of Tourism, Arts and Culture. Datuk Sri, what are your thoughts on the arts and culture sector? How are we going to be looking at this sector, especially if it's, exhibitions and galleries and concerts and plays and the like?
Melissa, actually, sometimes this is what we call blessing in disguise when these things happen. People are already connected through smartphone, through internet, So now, during MCO now, if you go to our websites, you can see, especially in terms of competition among those who have talents, among those who are in the arts industry. They are competing to sing, to dance. They are already doing it now. Because it's how we want them to stay at home feeling the fun and all the benefits that they can get out of staying at home. They will get paid through this competition. And for art galleries, you're talking about art galleries, they have this virtual gallery. It's all online. Now is the time for us to really train ourselves to use online facilities. It's amazing though, a lot of innovations and creativities that submerge from this COVID-19 MCO break actually, because we are encouraging people to participate in as many as possible that we are already organizing for them through the agencies that are under tourism. So actually, if you can see that, if you go to our websites, people are telling me, you know, they're so much fun, but I've not been able to see it, but I've been promoting also through online. So you see, people are already getting used to this. Is going to be the new norm in the whole world. Yeah,
that's true, because you know the ecosystem, the arts and the cultural sector goes beyond the performers. It's also the stagehands. It's all the auxiliary staff who now don't have work because shows cannot be staged, or concerts or bands from overseas can't enter the country. With an extended period, not just of the MCO but a post-MCO Malaysia, what will happen to them? Are they being counted in terms of the plans that the ministry has? Are they in fact visible to the ministry at this point in time?
First of all, it's the present moment. We are already engaging with them. We ask them, even those weavers are also involved. Now secondly, if it is already okay for us to gather, of course, even hotels, we are now thinking of going back to hotels to do our functions, to hold our functions, to have meetings and all those, because before this I think there was a break of using a lot of big facilities to save funds. But now it is time for us to also assist them, and we are already having plans. Okay, we are having plans for all of them, all of those sectors that is within us, especially for us, for those who are in the arts industry, those who are in the bands. I find that it is not really that difficult for them, because it is easy for them to plan things, and we are always being very responsive towards them. My only concern is those who are in the travel agency, those who are in who are the tourist guides, those who are the tour operators. We are trying to bring them to look into domestic tourism. Of course, the bands will complement them. So I'm not very much concerned. But talking about those from outside, I think the ones that will be very fast to open will be our borders. Thailand, Thailand, Singapore, Brunei, because they're very close to us, and these are they have relatives in the country. So we are also continuously promoting through Tourism Malaysia, promoting cross-border kind of tourism.
That's right. It seems to me that there seems to be a lot more focus on tourism. Has the arts been forgotten?
No, that's why I said arts are complementing. Arts are complementing. Even now, they are at the front now. The art are the ones who are at the front now, because they are the fastest to recover in terms of being in the arts industry. A lot of people are very keen into what they are doing. Actually, they get a lot of responses. Just about singing alone, singing competition. We even had people who are from other countries who want to join, who want to participate, but we have to tell them to stop, because this is only for Malaysians, and we have maybe about 2,000 participants now, and they have to segregate that. So that it will be more
right. I want to
organized.
ask you about the entertainment sector, which, you know, things like pubs that have live bands, many of them have already, even in good times, lead fairly insecure lives. Will these competitions be sufficient to make up for the loss of a regular income?
Well, to be fair, it is not going to be sufficient, of course. But we are doing this to get people to earn something for themselves during this MCO. We want to make sure that they have something on their table, food on their table. We are there. We feel for them, actually. We feel for them. We want to help them to also rebuild themselves in terms of their own economy, to stimulate the economy, apart from what the government is giving them. We are providing this to make sure that people are getting something. Of course, not everybody can get it. I cannot answer in terms of giving for everybody, but we are providing this opportunity. At least we are providing opportunity, and I hope others are also providing opportunity for them. But at least we are not, putting them aside or neglecting them. Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. More with Datuk Sri Nancy Shukri in just a few minutes. Stay tuned to consider this. Thank you for staying with Sharad and I on Consider This. Our guest tonight is Datuk Sri Nancy Shukri, Minister of Tourism, Arts and Culture, also MP for Batang Sadong. Now, Datuk Sri, the Visit Malaysia Year 2020 campaign has been cancelled, as I understand it, due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Yeah. And instead, there will be now more emphasis on domestic tourism, or Citi Malaysia. You pointed that out earlier in the interview. Now, I'm wondering whether this pivot to domestic tourism is going to be enough to fill the gap that is left without having international tourists.
Well, I'd like to thank you for this question. I think this is the most common matter that we have been discussing even internationally. Now, we have to bear in mind that tourists from outside will not be coming over to Malaysia yet. Neither will we be going out, because they are also looking into domestic tourism. So therefore, there are a lot of things in the country itself, in our own country, in our kampong or in our district, have not been explored by us. So that's why we are considering, we are looking and also encouraging even tour operators to look into domestic tourism. And there are a lot of things. When you talk about domestic tourism, again, you're talking, just now Sharad was asking me about musical, those in the music industry. There are people in the music industry in the rural areas. So we are looking into rural tourism. For rural tourism, you have a lot of things. You can talk about the ethnic communities in certain states. You can see their culture, how each culture is being practiced among themselves. Not many people know. And then you can also look into personalities who have been leaving legacies for their country and also for their states.
Okay, so previously, Datuk Sri, the positioning of Visit Tourism Malaysia or Malaysia's tourism campaigns has often been to promote Malaysia as a tourist destination to overseas tourists, right? What is it that domestic tourists want?
Oh, you're asking what is the domestic?
Yeah, how will you promote domestic tourism to Malaysians who are so familiar already with our culture?
No, not many people know. You'll be surprised, because some people may want to know this is going to rebuild our own domestic tourism, which will be, and the end result will be, this is going to be the destination for the foreign tourists later. You know, when we talk about one spot in one rural area, which nobody knew nobody ever knew about it until somebody introduced this new place. For example, a waterfall which people never even knew about it, because it is within the land that belongs to a person. It's an individual private land. So unless somebody brings you there, introduce you to this place, otherwise nobody knows about it. and people talking about the culture of this particular ethnic group, and why their food, the kind of food that they prepare for themselves, which is very special. And then they have homestays here, and then beautiful place there, the greens there. A lot of us, we don't even know about it. I'm telling you this because I am from Kuching, and I am an MP in Batang Sadong. I'm not from Batang Sadong, but that taught me a lot of things, because by me being there, I learned about a lot of things that many people don't know. Let alone if you talk about going to Mulu, not many people know even about Mulu.
That's true. I've actually been to Mulu, stayed at the resort for the Mulu caves and explored it. I love it. It's beautiful.
Exactly.
And
But
I want to ask you this question.
How many people knows it?
Yeah, they should. More people from the peninsula should go. And I want to ask you that question, which is the free flow of between East Malaysia and West Malaysia. Will there be specific problems when it comes to that border? We're talking about international border, talking about domestic borders that are also regulated. What's your concern? Is Sarawak state government concerned about a lot of people from the peninsula coming over when the MCO ends and when things are freed up?
Well, if it is still MCO, of course, we have to comply with not just Sarawak government. It comes under the procedure that's established by the health department, which we have to stand guided by them. We have to listen to them because they are the experts. But by the time when MCO is lifted, I'm sure everything is open. But I think there will be a new culture that will be existing, that is what people used to. Nowadays we hear about the new norm. So the new norm will be, we must make sure that this place is clean, hygienic practices, and then people will be distancing, social. They will be having this social distancing to be in place all the time. And one thing we must remember that people will have confidence. People will have confidence in us.
On that note about confidence, I mean, I can imagine that there will still be a lot of uncertainty, a lot of perhaps psychological uncertainty in wanting to travel. People might be unsure whether this is the right time. How are you going to be addressing that? I can imagine lots of people probably don't want to get on an airplane at the moment, even after the MCO is lifted.
Well, this is human nature. They have been locked for so long. Surely there'll be people who really want to go out there and travel, but they are not going to travel like before. They don't want to travel in a big group. They will be traveling like with families, they will be traveling with friends, just a few friends, and they do not want to travel with many people around. They want to make sure that the public places are clean. That's why, as the tourism, those in the tourism industry, they must try to look into something that will build the confidence of the people to go over. So, what are the things? What are the factors that you can, they can pull, that which becomes pulling factors for people to come to a certain kind of destination for them to visit. So, these are all factors that we want to make sure that everybody now will have this habit, a very clean and hygienic habit that they will be complying with, that will build the confidence among the people, even among like Sarawakians going to Semenanjung going to Sarawak. It's the same thing. It's the same thing that we want to look for. But people will still want to travel after that.
Dr. Sri, in the last few minutes that we have, could you help us understand what are the biggest challenges for you, the Minister, with your portfolio, considering a real downturn in revenues for government in the foreseeable future, not just from oil and such, but also from the tourism industry? Revenues there were going to, and the tax revenues will be very limited. How are you going to, what are the main challenges do you think you're going to have to deal with?
Actually, that question is really something that is very close to my heart, because we are talking about people who will be deprived from earning so much before this, and suddenly a lot of them will be unemployed, a lot of them will be, the families are affected. So therefore, we want all the industries to work together with us in MOTAC so that we can work something out for, we can discuss on the effective solutions. We have been discussing, yesterday I was with the state excos from the whole country, and they were suggesting something for for us to help those in the industry. So therefore, it is very good for us to work closely together, and we will be bringing this up to the government, the federal government, for us to discuss further what else can we do, because it is really our concern. But it is our, I think this is the time for us to work together. We rebuild this economy together. We save Malaysia together. It is, we have a common enemy. Our common enemy is this COVID-19, and let us all fight this enemy together. Then we work hard to rebuild our economy together to save Malaysia.
Dr. Sri, thank you so much for your time and being on the show with us tonight. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have on this episode of Consider This. I'm Melissa Idris with Mishrat Kitten signing off for the evening. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend, folks, and good night.